Hello and welcome to episode 30 of Mythos Busters, where tonight I wear no mask. No one?
Should I tell him or should you, Nick?
Oh God, what happened? What happened?
There's just a lack of the
we didn't
that
sing!
we just talked
God!
about.
Okay. So I think I earn a little bit of pity tonight because I am actually sick. And
funny thing is, you said, "Should I tell him or should you?" And I just sat there quietly because I'm like, "What am I telling him?"
God damn it.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 30 of Mythos Busters, where tonight I wear no mask. And
I
you
feel
guys
like I've
still
heard that
aren't going to
before.
have me on that one. God. I'm Sean. Tonight I'm sick as a dog, so I'm going to have to ask everyone to forgive me a little bit. I'm doing my best to not sniffle and not cough into the microphone, but if I do, I apologize ahead of time. Joining me tonight is Ian.
Hello there.
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Sean.
How are you?
You're
not
I'm
sick,
doing,
are you? You're hale and healthy?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I was sick a couple weeks ago, and then it's where that last little bit of sick just has its claws into you for a couple weeks. So that's the phase I've been in.
That's a good phase where, you know, all that like scar tissue that you accumulated from coughing for 5 days straight is just kind of settling in and still kind of tickly. No,
I want to use good as the adjective, but sure.
Right, yeah.
And joining, of course, as well is Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi, I'm healthy. Sorry to disappoint.
That's amazing because you have young children, 2 young children,
and one of which was incredibly sick recently. So I'm surprised that hasn't transferred over to at least one other member of the household.
Yeah, I was about to say, normally the young children are just like contagion vectors.
Right?
They're constantly existing in this world of bacteria and viri.
They're just little community petri dishes, it feels like.
Yes. Unfortunately, we are short Scott again tonight because, you know, schedules just didn't work out. So we'll catch him on the next one for sure.
We're not completely short him because he is listening. He is in the audience today.
Oh, look at that. Hi, Scott.
But he's just not talking.
Hidden Scott.
He's in his hiding place. We've all gained aloof.
I do like that your little joke about Scott being off the podcast actually was taken seriously by a couple of folks, Sean. So for the record, Scott has not been made to walk the plank quite yet.
Yet. He's on thin ice, though.
Yeah.
He's on double super secret probation.
Yeah. Any more of that nonsense?
All right, well, tonight we got a fun episode for you. We've got a couple announcements related to some contests we're running. A couple of news articles. We've got a fun segment that we'll kind of get to when we get to. I don't want to preview it a whole lot, but more or less it's a deck build with some fun strings attached. And then, of course, we have a couple of voicemails, or maybe just one voicemail that we'll do tonight. We'll see. And then, of course, we'll round it out with Tentacle Time. So, first thing I want to do is remind everyone that if you haven't seen it already, our meme contest is well underway. All the entrants are in. They're posted out on our Facebook site. So if you just go out there and search for Mythos Busters, you'll find us. It's the pinned post. We're looking for essentially help to weed out which are the best memes that were submitted and see who needs to get that sweet set of Arkham Knights 2017 promos. So please go out there and I suppose just like and laugh at, and you know, if you want to make sad faces, you can make sad faces. We're giving equal weight to all Facebook level reactions. So go out there and help us pick a winner. And the second piece of business is that we have a very special episode upcoming, and I think if my scheduling intuition is correct, it's going to be the next episode we end up recording. where we're going to be playing something of a game show in the vein of Family Feud. So by the time this releases, it's not ready at the time I'm recording. I still have to put a couple things on it. But by the time this releases, there will be a survey that I would ask anyone who wants to contribute to this game show go out and complete. It's going to be like 10 questions or fewer, so it should be really quick. We're going to post it in our Discord in the announcements section. We'll post it on our Facebook, and then if neither of those venues work for you, we'll also have a link to it on our WordPress website. So that's WordPress.mythosbusters.
No.
Mythosbusters.wordpress.com.
MythosbustersPodcast.wordpress.com.
Go there and fill out that survey. Guys, any other business I'm forgetting up front here?
Not that I can think of.
I think we can move to the party in the back now.
Oh yeah. So I think then we're moving straight to news, right? Ian, what we got?
So for the news, we got the announcement of the very final pack in the Path to Carcosa cycle. Can you believe it? Soon the cycle will actually be over. Although we still got a few packs to actually be released. But as far as
the ultimate and penultimate packs in the last two cycles have just had the most baller art on the front.
Oh yes. So this is Dim Carcosa, and the art is like some of the best Carcosa art I've seen. And in the actual release article, I don't know what card this is going to be on, but that Carcosa art is amazing. I need to track down some prints of these and add them to my collection. But anyway, so it looks like indeed we will be going to Carcosa in some capacity. And the interesting mechanic here is that basically, if I was reading this right, you don't get defeated when you would normally go insane, which is an interesting mechanic. Instead, there will be all kinds of nasty effects, and who knows if the resolutions will be affected by how much horror you end up with, which I have no doubt that probably will play a part. So
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I think we all know that that's gonna play into the resolution.
Yeah. So one example is this one final act card, where if you have no remaining sanity, you place 2 doom on the current agenda. So I'm sure there'll be other nastier stuff. So that probably tells me we're going to be taking a fair bit of horror in that scenario. No surprise for being in Carcosa that would be the case. I know, of course, though, while people are excited for the encounter deck mechanics, I know I am. The real star of the show here, at least for what we're going to talk about right now, are the player cards. So we did get a new Seeker card. So I'll go ahead and throw that to Sean. This is No Stone Unturned in upgraded version.
All right, so we have a level 5 No Stone Unturned. So it's still a 2-cost Seeker event. It has a Wild and Intellect pip. It has the Insight trait. Fast. Play during any free-triggered action player window. Do we have an official term for the lightning squiggle? Is it lightning
free
squiggle?
Action, I think.
I say
Just
free action, yeah.
Okay. So play during any free action window. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator searches his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles his or her deck. That's, I mean, combo wombo?
Wait. Yeah?
Yeah.
Although I think it's wombo combo. Doesn't the wombo come first?
I'm on cold meds here, Nick. It's all hazy.
Combo wombo. Yeah, that is like the ultimate tutor. Just grab any card you want. It is a hefty XP cost at 5.
Yeah, I know. That's what's rough.
It's pretty intense. The fact that it's fast helps, because
sure.
basically anytime anyone at your location is in trouble or is in need, just bam, 2 resources, they have the answer. That's a thing to consider when we're looking at that 5 XP, because that is steep.
Yeah.
It's very steep. Like running two of this in your deck, that's an investment. And that's an investment that's, I mean, like,
It's
is
like
it
two
worth?
and a half scenarios worth investment.
Yeah, it's so, like, oof, I don't know. I love it, but I don't think I'll ever do more than one.
Yeah, I think one would be the max. I think what we're seeing kind of similar to Lost in Time and Space, the final pack of Dunwich, where we got a bunch of kind of cards that are appropriate for a final scenario. I think that's the case here, where like I feel like a lot of earlier scenarios in a cycle, there's not a lot of times where I'm like, if I just had this one card, I could win.
Right.
But I could see a situation in the last pack when maybe we're facing down some big enemies. It's especially in multiplayer, more so than solo, because you can choose an investigator. It's like, here, let me help the guardian find their lightning gun, or whatever the case may be. I could totally see that being a thing.
Yeah, maybe this. Do you think it's a late scenario or a late campaign buy then, where you wait until everyone has the big bombs in their deck, and then this has more value in grabbing them?
Yeah,
I think so.
there's so many other Seeker XP cards that I would rather spend XP on in scenario 2, 3, 4, 5 than this. You know what I mean? Like, when you think of a level 0 Seeker deck, how integral is that deck on getting a single card in hand? You know what I mean? Like, how important is it? And like I said, 5 experience is a lot. That's 1 to 2 scenarios of experience, assuming you succeed at both. So, yeah, not sure.
So, question here. In your level 0 builds, for investigators who can take it, how often are you using level 0 No Stone Unturned? Does that even make the cut very often?
I generally prefer it over Preposterous Sketches, simply because I like to be able to pick and choose. And I can also... It depends. If it's a solo game, I'll probably do Preposterous Sketches. If I'm playing with at least one other person, I tend to go No Stone Unturned, simply because I can choose the card rather than just taking the top 3. But that's personal preference. I know most people prefer Preposterous Sketches from the conversations I've had.
Yeah, I think I'm more of a sketch man in general, quantity over quality, but yeah.
Okay, so then extending that comparison, if we're comparing level 0 to sketches, would we compare this to Cryptic Research? And in that case, which would you rather have?
Cryptic Research is fast. Choose an investigator location. They draw 3 cards.
Yep.
Zero
cost.
It's 5. 0. Oh, there's
Zero
a difference
cost,
too.
4 XP? 3
No,
or 4?
it's 5. It's 5.
Cryptic
Isn't
Research
it?
is 5?
I'm pretty sure
I don't
it's
know.
4.
I never run it. I don't know. It's
I'm
4?
pretty
Okay.
sure, yeah.
Scott says 4. Casey backs him up, so. I don't know. I've never been a big fan of Cryptic Research to begin with. Simply because I feel like there's decent enough card draw in the level 0 stuff from Seeker that they can get by. So
Yeah,
I would rather fish my deck.
Sure. Yeah, it kind of depends. I think Rex and Daisy I've managed to put it in because it just replaces Preposterous Sketches in those builds.
Well,
generally.
and that's fair. I guess I haven't played a high XP Rex deck, and for Rex, what else is he going to take? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he doesn't have the options. So, yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, generally, the thing about Seekers is their base and low XP cards are so good that once you kind of get those situated, you don't have a ton to spend on. So I'm a big Cryptic Research fan just for like higher ed purposes to fill back your hand if need be or whatnot. So
higher ed.
this one is I see a use for it, but it's not like making me go gaga over it. At that price point.
If only off classes could take it. You know what I mean? Because that's when I see myself, when I say that I use No Stone Unturned more, what I mean to say is that in Roland, I prefer No Stone Unturned over Preposterous Sketches. Again, because I like fishing rather than just drawing a bunch. So, I would love this in my Roland deck, but it can't take it.
You know how I know this is a middling card? Because we're still talking about it.
True enough. I guess there is some interest that you can play it during any free action player window. So if another player is getting into some trouble on their turn, say like they're trying to fight and they're drawing a tentacle or whatever, then you could potentially bail them out with this. So that's interesting, potentially. I don't know.
Well, and that's, you think about like 5 XP cards, and we want those to be big effects, big, just like undeniably powerful effects. And something like this is so dependent on the board state and on deck composition and number of players. I would say more so than most of our other 5 XP cards, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're a little wishy-washy on it.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're not going to be as wishy-washy on this next one. Or at least it's going to inspire a little bit more passion. This one is Eat Lead, and this is a Guardian card, so I'll give that to Nick.
All right. Eat Lead is a level 2 zero-cost Guardian event. It has a combat and an agility skill icon. It is a tactic, and it is...
Ooh, Mark can take it.
Yeah, well, it's Guardian. Jeez. And it has Fast. Play when you activate the Fight ability on a firearm asset. You may spend X additional ammo tokens from that asset. When you reveal Chaos tokens for this attack, reveal X additional Chaos tokens. Choose one to resolve and ignore the rest. Yeah, please, thank you.
Oh,
Awesome.
This one melts my brain a little bit. Is this undeniably good?
Yeah,
So-
no, well,
I wouldn't
okay,
say
why do you
undeniably.
think not?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
why
okay.
do you think not?
So let's break down then. I know this is going to get dangerously close to talking about click economy, but let's break down what the difference is between taking 3 shots on a monster versus taking, using this and then spending 2 additional tokens. Like, really, this is only ever going to amount in 1 successful shot, though you are definitely hedging your bets. But do you think you're ever better just using those extra ammo for extra shots and rolling the dice again?
No.
I see this way more in hard to expert mode than easy and normal.
Even
You
in
don't think so?
standard,
Okay,
this
walk
is,
me through why.
it's action compression. You're doing it all in a single action, and normally you're revealing those tokens one at a time. But with this card, you get them all at once, and you pick the best one to activate all of that. Like that's, I think it's I love this card. Like I don't see, although, God,
Bullets ain't free.
It's tough, yeah. That's the tough part.
but that's another thing too, is that like you're not going to use this card for any enemy. You know what I mean? Like you're not just going to use it at any time. This is one of those for, again, specific situations against the time when you need to hit. So yeah, you're probably right that harder expert, this is much more valuable. But I'll probably still run it in standard.
And I guess I see more use of it if we continue to get more weapons like the Colt 32, where you it's a lower cost for more ammo, but not as much of a, like for the Colt, if like in a Mark deck where you're running the Colt, I can see maybe throwing a copy of this in. But I don't know, like I suppose in most cases the only time this is undeniably better is if you've only got 1 action left and you really need to hit that enemy.
Or if you're firing a shotgun and you want to ensure you get 3, 4, 5 damage instead of 0 to 1.
Yeah, but shotgun costs 5 with 2 ammo. Are you going to spend that other 1?
Oh, but you're going to be running extra ammo. Come on. Right? Aren't you? I always do.
Are you running extra ammo and this, both of which cost XP?
Yeah.
Okay. I know you keep trying to make shotgun a thing, so I believe you.
I don't need to make it a thing. Shotgun is a thing.
It's not too huge of an XP cost, I guess. Extra ammo is what, 1 XP, and this is 2. If you had the shotgun, then it potentially is. I don't know. I'm not in love with this card, but I see some uses.
Yeah, I guess to me, extra ammo isn't even a conversation, because if I take shotgun, I take extra ammo. Like that's
Sure.
it's just shotgun is a 6 experience investment for me.
Casey in the chat pointed out a good use for this, and it happens to be very topical for me because I'm running a Slightning Gun Zoe build through Carcosa right now, and in Slightning Gun Zoe, this is not a bad pull, because those the ammo that you pop in with sleight of hand, that's going away at the end of the round, so you might as well do something with it. So I could see it there.
Sure, that's
So there you go. It has a place in Mark with the Colt, has a place in Slightning Zoe, since you can trick out that lightning gun, and it has a place, kind of, in Guardian with shotgun, if you're taking extra ammo and you really want to pump that ammo.
You think you're finding room for this in Roland?
Probably not, you're right. I mean, just straight up, honestly,
Yeah,
when I built
mean,
that 50 experience deck for Roland, it's so hard to cut stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It could work for Skids as well. Because he can
Yeah.
access this, and he has the sleight of hand, so that could potentially work for him.
How many ammo does the Chicago typewriter come in with? 4?
4, I believe. Yeah. So that would be worthwhile.
So you can spend actions and ammo and just unload. I mean, which is
Yeah.
literally what's happening in the art here. So someone's keeping the chaos bag at bay.
Yeah, I could see situations too where, especially the Mark Holt situation, where you're like just one over what you need and you don't really have any way to pump.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably better in that case to try to get one good hit rather than taking 2 swings. I don't know. Someone can do some probability analysis on that. Alright, so that is Eat Lead. Definitely an interesting card. I love the theme of it, where you're just like throwing away bullets, trying to make sure you take down whatever it is. The next one is a rogue card, so I'm going to take this one. This is a doozy. This is Cheat Death. A 1 cost. This is 5 XP, 1 wild icon. Has the trick and faded traits. Fast.
Illusion, Ian.
Play when you would be defeated. Disengage from each enemy engaged with you. Discard all cards in your threat area. Heal 2 horror and 2 damage. And move to any revealed location with no enemies. If it is your turn, remove Cheat Death from the game.
Wow.
That is... Yeah.
How is this not a survivor card?
That is insane.
Or an exile card.
Right.
Like, I don't know, man. Really good.
Yeah. Again, it's a lot of
5
XP.
good?
It is. But a lot of XP for a reset button. Like, not a hard reset, but a soft reset. You know, you get 2 healing on damage and horror.
Yeah.
So play when
Discard
you
all cards in your threat. So it would get rid of... You know what? I love this in Skids because it gets rid of frickin' Frozen by Fear. Like, if that's all I can throw at its feet, that's fine.
Sure. Frozen by Fear. Could get rid of all kinds of other kind of
what's the
threat
one?
area.
God, why can't I
Beyond
think
the
of it?
Veil. This
Yeah,
gets rid of
Beyond the Veil. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
cool. Damn. Oh yeah. Okay. So this is huge Dunwich tech for a rogue deck that might be worried about drawing out.
Yeah. I also really like the idea on multiplayer that you potentially could just soak up a bunch of enemies, let everyone kind of make a beeline for the resign location. You get defeated because all the enemies attack you. They're going to disengage, but that's fine. Everyone else has left, and then you just teleport to where they are, and you can all escape. That would be a pretty epic play.
I love how we're getting like the desperate gamble for each class. So we got Storm of Swords, where the Mystic just goes no and unleashes on everything. We've got
Storm of Spirits.
Yeah, Storm of Swords. God damn it, I'm so
Spirits
right now. Storm of Spirits. Storm of Swords is the Game of Thrones book. Storm of Spirits. I'll see you in hell. We just got for Guardian, which is like, no, I'm taking you bastards with me. And now Cheat Death. It's like, haha, not dead.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool.
my brain is still spinning on this one. So
I think this is the most objectively good card of the 3 that we looked at. Like, I don't think, like, the other 2 we're going back and forth on, but I don't think there's a... Again, it's 5 experience, but, like, to me, 5 experience for a reset button is just insane.
I think it's worth a solid 1 of.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know that I'd go the full 2 copies
No.
of this one.
No.
See, you run into the same problem in Rogue, which is they have so many amazing high XP cards. But I think maybe potentially is more of a kind of mid-campaign or late-campaign buy. I could see this. The other cool thing is you could just move away and take opportunity attacks to get defeated and then teleport back. Again, that's another way that you can use this to, like, proactively soak up a bunch of enemies and then move them somewhere else and then teleport
This is
back.
like dodge plus elusive, yeah.
Yeah.
It allows you to be so much more like aggressive and just throw caution to the wind to a certain degree, which is amazing. And especially playing on like hard or expert, like that's going to be pretty big thing.
Though bear in mind, I suppose, only if you have been defeated by going 1 over your damage or horror threshold, because if you go any more than that, then the healing's not going to help you.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, if you take that 100 horror and curtain call, then this isn't going to save you.
Well,
how would the timing work on that? Would you still reset, and then when your turn... Or no, it would just be immediate.
You take 100 horror, and then you heal 2 of it, so yay.
Yeah, it would be immediate. Okay. Dang it, I was hoping you'd get like a Mythos phase, and then at the start of your turn, blah, you're just insane.
I want to see someone play like recur Devil's Luck and cheat death and somehow survive that agenda. I'm sure it can't happen, but it's pretty cool.
It's fun to think about. So yeah, that's about it for the Dim Carcosa player cards.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. Oh god, guys. Okay, so let's round it back really quickly here. I know we actually like to open the show with recent plays, but I managed to skip past that part.
Sure.
So another thing that I don't think we've actually covered on the podcast so far is they've released another novella in the same vein of the Night of the Huntress that we had for Jenny. We now got Ire of the Void, which released an investigator we haven't yet actually seen in the game, in Norman Withers, the astronomer. So I currently have a Carcosa campaign going with my Slightning Gun Zoe, and Withers, who is so fascinating. Like his deck building rules just made me go, what?
Yeah.
So for anyone who wasn't privy to that, basically Norman Withers' deck building rules is that he gets his level 0 deck. He gets access to any Seeker cards, any neutral cards, and 5 Mystic cards of level 0. And then to upgrade, he can only upgrade Mystic cards 1 to 5 and neutral cards. So basically he starts pretty yellow, and then his deck just gets more and more purple as I guess he's gazing into the void and becoming more and more mystic.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's been really fun. He's Gandalf the Yellow for you Lord of the Rings players out there.
Yeah, I tried him out for the first time at Invocation event, and it was fun. He kind of carried the clue burden as you would expect from a Seeker, but he also was able to chip in here and there with a Shriveling or a Storm of Spirits.
Speaking of Invocation, let's talk for a minute about that, because the first, because we had Arkham Knights, but the first actual like widespread Arkham event happened since the last time we recorded. So the Invocation event, if you weren't able to make it to one, basically, I don't know, it was pretty cool. We got an alt art Daisy, we got a cool little Exodolon's pet playmat, and what am I missing?
The alt art enough, Daisy, right? Little marker is like a hard plastic, which was surprising.
Yes, that. Yeah, so they actually, it's printed acrylic, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know a whole lot about fabrication, but as soon as I got my hands on that, I'm like, oh god damn it! I wish all the mini tokens were like this.
I know. That was the bad part of it.
So glad I missed out on that. Sarcasm.
So Ian, how did your Invocation event go? First, what did you play? Who did you play with? And did you use any ultimatums?
Sure. Okay. Let me see if I remember all those questions. I played with good old Casey, Mr. Trench, in our Discord, and along with 2 other folks. And we were playing 4-player. We decided to play Echoes of the Past and Unspeakable Oath, both as standalone. We were, obviously we didn't have the time to do a campaign, and we decided to do the Ultimatum of Broken Promises, I think it's called, which removes the Elder Sign. We looked at them all, and a lot of them require kind of special deck building, and of the ones that didn't, we're like, oh, that seems the least punishing, at least for the investigators we were playing. So I went with Norman, and we actually had a kind of mystic heavy group, because we had Safina, who can have a lot of Mystic going on. We had Jim, and then we had York. So there's a whole lot of Mystic going on. We did well in Echoes, kind of, that scenario is a little bit on the easier side, so we kind of smashed with some Storm of Spirits. I gotta say, that card feels slightly OP in multiplayer, because it got dropped. It got dropped a couple times and just annihilated like 3 or 4 enemies. Although there were a couple late Storm of Spirits that did not go as well.
There are 2 investigators in the game, to my knowledge. 3 because of Jim. There are 3 investigators in the game who can play one of the coolest, most epic plays that I think is probably possible in this game right now, and that is Storm of Spirits with double or nothing. You've got Zoe. I suppose any of the Dunwich investigators could run it, couldn't they? Because that only takes 4 splash spots. Damn, God, those Dunwich Gators are just going to be so good.
Yeah,
they're just going to continue to be good. Anyway, really fun.
Yeah.
How much experience did you play in Norman?
I had 19 going, which I'm not even sure if I really needed that much, because with the 4-player team we had, I ended up not needing to do much fighting. Yorick's a big hitter, and Safina, and as well as Jim, was running around with a machete, so I didn't need to do a ton, and I was carrying a lot of the clue burden. So Unspeakable Oath started out well, and I thought we were going to pull it out, and it turned out Norman was the only survivor. So I don't want to say too much because we haven't spoiled Unspeakable Oath yet on our podcast, but I'll just say Norman was able to resign, and it came to this thing of like, is it better for Norman to resign now so that they get 1 fewer encounter card, or is it better for me to stick around and I can help? Ultimately, we decided, because of where the encounter deck was at, it's better just to not have another encounter card. So I resigned first, and then everyone else was not able to make it out. The Chaos Bag just did not go their way at all.
Oh, jeez.
That's awesome. I had a follow-up for that, but now I've lost it. So you use Broken Promises as an ultimatum. Anything else?
That was the only ultimatum we used.
You lightweights!
Yeah, we used it for both games. Yeah, it was a lot of fun though. I rarely get a chance. I maybe get to play at Gen Con and these special events, maybe every now and then online to play 4-player, and I'm always impressed about how good a 4-player game Arkham is.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good 4-player game.
Yeah, scalability is definitely not an issue that Arkham has.
No.
Yeah, so for my part, I went to the FFG Center, of course, and got to play a little bit there. I played with my buddies Justin and Justin, and I played Norman as well, it turns out. I went with 19 experience as well, which is why I was curious. And we ended up playing single group, non-epic, Labyrinths of Lunacy, because I just didn't have the time to do a full epic one, even though I would have loved to again.
Yeah.
And we really rocked it. We were playing, God, and I'm gonna have a hard time remembering. Rex, Akachi, I want to say Justin played, and then another Justin played, and then I played Norman. And it was actually a surprisingly good team. Turns out when you can just get a bunch of clues really quickly and beat the agenda, it helps a lot of things.
Yeah, that tends to lead
especially
to
with that one where the act and agenda wait for each other. When you're just like, oh, okay, well, I've got everything, and the agenda still has like 5 doom it could put on there. Like it's pretty okay.
You just buy yourself turns to set up and prep and everything else.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a good time. I would recommend anyone. Oh yeah, so for ultimatums, never mind. So for ultimatums, we use Broken Promises. We also use the one where you don't skip the Mythos phase for the first turn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And then I want to say there was one more we used. Oh, yeah. Any I can't remember which one it's called, but anytime you take damage or horror, you have to fully apply it to a single card before it can be spilled over anywhere else.
Oh, yeah. I think that's Agony, I want to say.
That sounds right. But anyway, they were fun. They added some kind of tension that you don't normally have to deal with. So I'm pretty positive on the ultimatums as far as like game format limiters for these events, where you can kind of opt into them. You can pick and choose which ones you want to play with. If there's one that really messes with your investigator, you don't have to play with it. So I was kind of a fan of that.
You know, I was going to make a joke about the ultimatum of broken promises, but I see that chat has already kind of done that. Chris Jackson in chat says, no Elder Sign sounds like 95% of the games. I was going to say, you could probably throw that ultimatum in any game and nobody would even know you're playing with an ultimatum.
Yeah, I feel like we kept forgetting that we were even playing with that, because, yeah, that was our thinking. We're like, well, how many times are we even going to see the Elder Sign anyways?
We can't rely on that bastard anyway. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Banish it.
Okay, any other plays? Nick, what are you playing nowadays?
I haven't played Arkham. I played a solo game of Echoes when I first got it, and then I just haven't had the chance to sit down and play Arkham since. Like, I have Unspeakable Oath sleeved and ready to go. It's been weeks. I'm pretty sure on our last episode I said the same thing, but I just have not had the chance to sit down and play it yet. So I'm waiting to. I'm ready to. Maybe I will tonight. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, the holidays get pretty crazy.
They sure do.
Yeah, so I think the last thing that I would mention is I have gone through everything up to this point with my Norman and Zoe campaign. I have on my table set up the Phantom of Truth, or a Phantom of Truth. And I will tell you what, just setting it up has me so excited. I will be immediately hopping into playing it after we wrap tonight. It's gonna be fun.
Is part of setup, does it say get rid of your deck and play as Agnes?
I really like Withers. I don't know.
Put the Diana Stanley ally into play.
Ooh, I would love that.
I'm just guessing.
But the basically, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything because when you guys get out there, so spoiler free. But the setup is completely unlike anything we've seen before, and it's really fun. And I'm excited to hit it again with other campaigns as I go through. So I know Matt had mentioned that it was something he was really proud of when we talked to him last time, and I now see why. It makes perfect sense to me. It was really fun. So anyway, we'll report back on the next episode, I suppose, on how that went. So, let's move it on in then to, I suppose, just to our discussion topic, right?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Anything else? Wow, straight there. Okay, Ian, why don't you, since you were kind of the liaison for this whole crossover, why don't you lead us through it?
Okay, so I should start off by saying that this was kind of the brainchild of Arkham Chronicle. If you're not familiar with Arkham Chronicle, I definitely highly encourage you to go check out the Arkham Chronicle videos, because they are short, they're informative, and they're often hilarious. So definitely a shout out to them. So Arkham Chronicle came up with the idea of a kind of collaboration of some of the, at the risk of making us sound more lofty than we are, community institutions. And so the
very pillars upon which the community is built.
The foundation of society, yes. So the idea was, what would it look like if there was a team of all mystics, a team of the 4 mystic investigators we have, and the idea was that each of these kind of community institutions, us, Arkham Chronicle, and Drawn to the Flame, and then I'm not even sure who the 4th element was. I can't remember now. I think that was still TBD last time I was talking with Arkham Chronicle.
I have an idea, but I don't want to say it in case I'm wrong. So
Sure. So each of us was kind of assigned an investigator that made sense, and we are going to be discussing, no surprise here, Agnes. We ended up with Agnes. I wonder why. And
it's a mystery to everyone.
And our goal is going to be building Agnes, but the wrinkle here is we're going to be building Agnes as a member of an all-mystic team. The other wrinkle is that we have no idea. We don't know what kind of decks the other participants in this kind of collaboration project are building. So we have to build this blindly, as if we were just showing up to a game with them, not knowing what decks they're going to have. And we have to think to ourselves, what are the other Mystic Investigators good at? Knowing that, how can we build Agnes to complement what we think they might be creating? And at the end of this all, there will be episodes kind of spilling forth from all of us at the same time, and you will be able to listen to all of those and see how we all went about the same challenge with different investigators. I think that about covers it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything important.
You had me at Agnes deck build.
So yes, we are doing another Agnes deck build.
So, getting us started then, I suppose, first, Ian, did the kind of idea of this actually promote any restrictions? Like, are we supposed to only use purple cards or anything like that, or are we literally just building an Agnes deck?
Nope, just building an Agnes
for
deck.
the same deck.
Yeah, the only
yeah, well, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, just whatever normal restrictions Agnes has, just keeping in mind what we think the other investigators might be doing.
Okay, so let's talk about that then. So, I think Marie is pretty easy. I think she wants to kind of lean investigate, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. She has
honestly, I can't even
that.
remember what her deck building restrictions are. She can take like Seeker and Survivor stuff at level 0, right?
Yeah,
Something
up
like
to
that.
5, a mix of Seeker and Survivor, and then the rest. It's weird. It's like 0 to 3 Mystic, and then 0 to 5 spells. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's like half of the backside of her card. It's just outlining what can go in her deck.
yeah, but just with her starting stats, she kind of leans more towards investigating. So I think that's probably where the Marie deck will go.
Okay, that
And
seems fair.
let's see, we have Jim. Jim is kind of a wild card.
He's kind of the consummate flex investigator.
Yeah.
Right?
In a 4
So maybe we don't account for him.
Yeah. I mean, if I was going to design Jim 4-player in this, I might go towards like a more support role. And
2 copies of No Stone Unturned to grab that trumpet.
that freaking
Because
trumpet.
healing a bunch of horror in a mystic team, that seems pretty okay to me. But we're not building Jim.
Yeah, so maybe we circle around to Jim. Akachi,
I mean, she's the most mystic of the mystics.
yeah. I mean, I feel like Akachi just tends to throw all the mystic spells in there, so a little bit of both.
Which makes her kind of an all-rounder as well. So, to my mind, and also taking into account Agnes's inherent ability, I feel like we kind of lean maybe a little bit more into Monster Killer.
Yeah, that's where I would go. I think Agnes's role should just be just like the DPS, just like dealing damage, just killing stuff quickly.
And not only that, but heavy emphasis, and I'm sure I've only built 1 Agnes deck in my life, but I'm pretty sure you do this anyway, but heavy emphasis on red, heavy emphasis on Survivor, because that's really what sets her apart from the other 3 Mystics.
Sure. Yeah, so if there's anything we can access that's kind of big for a 4-player team in Survivor, that would be good.
Okay, so let's talk then about what do we think are just like the straight up, this goes in the deck cards if Agnes is planning on primarily managing enemies.
Shriveling?
Yeah.
That is the correct answer, sir.
Shriveling is correct.
Would you like to
I'm glad
double
I'm glad you guys tossed me the softball there for this first one.
Slowly heading towards Nick's bat.
So let's talk about ally slot, I think, first.
Okay.
So, are we moving on from more auto includes?
No, you're fine. Let's do allies first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
allies
So let's
is
talk about
fine.
the ally slot. So if she's really focusing on enemies, I definitely always see value in Peter Sylvester to upgrade into level 2 Peter Sylvester and just be continually awesome. I also see some value in the Arcane Initiate because it also becomes less risky to throw down that Arcane Initiate with the Doom if you know eventually you're probably just going to take an attack.
Sure.
And can kill it. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't think none of the other Mystics are really going to prioritize Peter, right?
I would
Like, I mean, When you look at Peter, he kind of like screams Agnes
Yeah.
when you think of him in a Mystic deck.
Yeah, I don't see Marie or Jim, who are the ones who can taking him.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we're safe, even though he's unique. I think we're safe doing 2 of him right off the bat. And I think that's honestly, to me, that's like an auto include Peter and Agnes. So
It's he's good. Okay. So do we want to then have kind of a flex slot for the ally slot with the initiate, and maybe like just throw in a 1, or kind of how are we feeling about that? I suppose more a broad question. How do you guys build your decks? Do you ever throw in more allies than you have the slots for?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll
I play Guardian, so
actually often I kind of run a baseline of 4 just to make sure I get something out there.
Okay. So as far as availables, we have Alyssa, we've got David Renfield, we've got the Arcane Initiate, we've got Peter Stray Cat, and then now Madame Labranche. I'm not going to hear a cry for Madame Labranche, am I?
no.
No.
Oh.
I think
And Renfield doesn't like. I mean, I think he's useful, but I don't think he's. I think he's more of a Marie.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like
Yeah.
if we take him, then Marie's going to be sad.
Yeah.
and we're probably
What if
going
we?
to be
What if we? Wait. What if we build a grief deck?
That's a whole nother.
Well, we're already putting in Delve Too Deep, so.
I'm thinking
I think they will be too.
2 Peters and 1 or 2 initiates.
Okay. So I'll pop 2 in there for now, and we can
We
cut
can
it
always
down when we
scale
need to.
back. Yeah.
Okay. So then let's talk about arcane slots. I suppose we already have Shriveling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most Agnes decks that I end up building tend to take Rite of Seeking. Do we bother in this case? Do you think it's worth having that flexibility to investigate, or do you think we just leave it out and lean into monster slaying?
I vote leave it out. I think the other 3 are going to have that covered.
Very good. So then I'll make an impassioned argument for Forbidden Knowledge, which is truly Agnes's signature card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless
Yeah.
of what the heirloom would have you do.
Yeah, 2 copies Forbidden Knowledge for sure.
Okay. So, and in looking through the rest of the Mystic assets, I'm not really seeing anything that hops out at me. I don't know about you guys. Like Rosary, don't need it most of the time. Yeah, I'm kind of content to move on to events for Mystic anyway. We can still look at Survivor stuff.
Yeah, sure. For Mystic, I think there's nothing really jumping out. I'm just
I have to
starting.
blow my nose, so I'll be on mute for a moment.
Oh, sure. Okay, so Mystic events, as far as anything that is, I would make an argument for 2 Storm of Spirits for sure.
Yes.
Like the other investigators might take that, but if we're the damage dealer, like that's a no-brainer, I think. So I
agree.
I will assume Sean agrees with us. So that's 2 copies of Storm.
Oh, we good.
Yep. Okay, so 2 copies of Storm for sure.
Storm of Swords.
A Storm of Swords.
Ward of Protection.
Um,
I at first blush I feel like that's a 2 of, because it's not only a get out of jail free card, but it's also adding a horror which fuels Agnes.
Sure. Yeah.
Seems like win-win to me.
Yeah.
and if we're focusing on monsters, it could stop us from having to waste several actions on a treachery we'd rather not have to worry about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll pop that in.
Okay.
How about Unquiche the Soul? Do you think we're going to hit?
Well,
Yeah, because we've only got Shriveling for spells right now. So
and Storm.
Storm.
Is the Storm a
And
spell?
Storm,
Yeah.
yep.
That
And
would
Storm.
that would make both of them free.
And I suppose a ton of these. Sorry, I was only looking at assets for a second there.
Oh.
Turns out events can be spells too.
I think Uncage the Soul is one that we probably want to wait until towards the end of the deck build, just because it's reliant on what's in your deck,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of spells we haven't even discussed yet. So.
Sure. Okay, so how about Astral Travel then? Do we think this one's worth it for that, like, hey, I hop into a monster's location halfway across the board and then I just punch it in the face?
I could see an argument for one of them, if not two. One feels strong, two feels like it's overcommitting to me, but again, I mean, I don't play Agnes that often.
I'm definitely good for one. I could see the use of two, but I could be argued out of it pretty easily. Ian, cast the deciding vote.
I usually go with one when I run Astral Travel. Just
very good.
Just to avoid too much expensive stuff that won't always play.
All right. How do we feel about level 0 Blinding Light? Now, I know ideally everyone wants to take level 2 because it is just so intensely better, but...
Well, Arkham DB is saying it's a card suggestion.
So
that's one that can deal 1 damage. I mean, we're planning to be engaged with enemies, so it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have at least 1. Although Casey brings up a good point that if we're running Pete,
throw 2 in and we can
our
cut that
agility
down.
is going to be naturally higher. So is Blinding Light really...
Okay, let's drop it down to 1 and maybe look at cutting it when we get to the cutting room.
Okay.
Moonlight Ritual. I don't see us playing with Doom a whole lot. How about you guys?
Nope. That's a pass.
Okay, Hypnotic Gaze. Yeah, I kind of feel like Agnes kind of wants to take the attacks sometimes to get that horror to deal the damage, but...
Well, you take the... Oh, no, it cancels the attack. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, I would say no Hypnotic Gaze.
Delve Too Deep, on the other hand, is an asset that I'm sure the entire team will be bringing, so we can't be left out there.
I'm sorry, it's an event, Sean, not an asset.
So that's a yes. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, we can't pass up the opportunity to have...
I'm done arguing
8 Delve
against
Too
it.
Deeps.
Okay. So with... I suppose in moving to Mystic Skills, we've got Defiance and Fearless at level 0. Defiance... I'm kind of out on that one in a general purpose deck, unless I've got kind of something I'm specifically looking at using it for.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Defiance?
Meh.
I throw it in Gym occasionally, but that's really... Because usually when I'm building Gym, I tend to try and go for the Chaos Bag manipulation, so it just kind of fits into that. But then honestly, it ends up coming out towards, scenarios 2, 3, 4... Or not 2, 3, like 4, 5, 6. Fearless, though, I think 2 of, for sure.
Fearless. That's all I got.
Yeah, Agnes needs
Ian,
the
how are you
Fearless.
feeling on Fearless? 2 of them?
Yeah. Because we don't really have... Otherwise, we're going to depend on Jim's trumpet, which you know.
Well, and how about Peter Silvestri?
Yeah, that does help a lot.
It turns out he heals a horror or 2.
Yeah.
But refueling her damage ability has definitely got use if we're focusing on enemies, so I do agree on the 2 of Fearless.
Yep.
Okay, so that gets us through the purple cards. Let's move, I suppose, to the red
What's our card
cards.
count at right now, Sean?
We are currently sitting at 18 cards, 8 assets, 8 events, 2 skills.
Okay.
Do you think Agnes needs a backup weapon? Should we look at something like a fire axe or a baseball bat? A shovel, maybe? How about a lantern?
No. Lantern's a no. I mean, if the plan is to be Monster Killer Agnes, I think a fire axe is a good idea. Maybe 2, but 1. I think 1 is a safe bet.
For a level 0 build, I'd vote 2. Because the only other thing we're dealing damage with right now is Shriveling.
That's true.
Ability.
Yeah. If we had XP, we could have Song of the Dead, which would take that pressure off. But without it, I would vote 2 fire axes.
Okay, cool. I'm going to assume we don't want to mess with Dark Horse for this build.
No.
Okay. So then how do we feel about the Cherished Keepsake and or Leather Coat to bolster the horror and damage capacity?
I feel like Cherished Keepsake doesn't really have a place.
I would agree.
And the Leather Coat, again, I'm going to say this for like every card. 1 of, maybe? I don't know.
I think for monster-focused Agnes is probably the best argument for
That's
it.
true.
Because she's then probably going to, be likely to take more damage than any other
that's
type.
true.
Yeah.
So we'll pop in 2 and cut it down if need be.
Yep.
We already passed up on the Madam newspapers for investigating. How about Rabbit's Foot? We feeling a cheeky Rabbit's Foot in there?
But then you can't get her signature into play.
Does anyone? I'm sorry, I love me some Agnes, but her signature's awful.
I don't know if she's gonna be feeling. I mean, in a perfect world, but because she's gonna be doing a lot of testless damage, and then
Did Ian cut out for you? Because he cut out for me.
He did. I kept expecting.
So did
him to come
I,
back. I'm
and-
sure he's talking on his end, so we're probably talking
Right.
over him.
I don't. He hasn't returned yet, so I'm just gonna go. I don't know. Like, to me, it feels unnecessary, but I'm not sure like what card draw normally looks like for her, and this is conditional card draw. So sorry, Ian. You can finish your point now.
yeah, I got disconnected somehow. Where was my brain at? Yeah, I was just saying she's doing a lot of testless damage and mostly willpower tests. I think I don't see Rabbit's Foot being used a lot.
That's true. I didn't think about that. A lot of her tests we're going to be replacing with willpower anyway.
Compared to like a solo build where, you know, you're going to have to throw out like intellect tests and other stuff that doesn't have much of a chance.
Okay, so let's leave it up. So then I mean, scavenging, stray cat, these are not things that we want at the moment, I don't think.
No.
So we'll skip on through there. So into the Survivor events. Lucky, I suppose.
Yes.
Is probably an
Yes.
auto.
Yeah, have to.
Look what I found, we'll probably skip. Bait and switch, cunning distraction are all avoidance tactics. How fight or flight? Do we think with Fire Axe a fight or flight or 2 is worth it?
It's
'Cause
interesting.
Agnes is going to be toting around some horror.
Yeah.
I think that's made for Agnes.
Yeah.
I agree, actually. I have it right now in who was I playing? I want to say it was shoot, I just had it the other night. Who was I playing? Oh, Ashcan. I built that desperate Ashcan deck without forbidden knowledge, but the whole idea was to get Ashcan down quickly as possible. And when you're planning for that, or when you're just planning to generally have horror, fight or flight is amazing.
Yeah, I'm pro fight or flight, especially because it lasts until the end of the round.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
so good.
Okay, so let's pop 2 of those in, and we can cut as necessary. Hiding spot?
I think your tone said it all.
Yeah. And okay, so how about oops?
Oh, God.
In 4-player, this is the biggest argument I could make for it, but I don't know if that argument's strong enough. The only reason I'm saying that is because normally if we were throwing this in like Zoe, maybe, those fight icons on Oops would be worth
Sure.
something. But in Agnes, she's not going to be looking for them as
God,
much.
Oops costs 2? I thought it was 1.
It sure
Oh,
does.
that's terrible. No, don't
All
put
right, so let's pass on.
I'd
the
rather see an overpower if you're really looking for 2 fight icons. But even then,
Yeah, the 2 cost just destroys
it's
that.
terrible.
It asks
It
a
really
lot.
does.
Of you.
I've never really like examined it before because I always just gloss over it whenever I'm building red. Like I know
Yeah.
what not to do it, and now I actually look at it and I'm like, oh my god. Okay, moving on.
How does Oops interact with Storm of Spirits?
Poorly.
If you miss on Storm of Spirits, can you still then get around it with Oops? Does that work?
I think
Instead of no, it replaces the normal damage you would be dealing, so Oops is completely negated, right?
I'd have to look at Storm of Spirits real quick.
Scott,
Attack uses will instead of combat.
Needed an emergency, Scott.
Instead of its standard damage. If you succeed instead of its standard damage. So because it doesn't replace it unless you succeed. Like, I mean, if we're gonna get that, I mean, obviously that would be the case. But if we're gonna get that nitty gritty about it, how I would read it is that if you succeed instead of its standard damage, blah blah blah, and then Oops would be if you fail, you just do regular damage.
and then this says if you fail while attacking an enemy engaged with you, so as long as you fulfill that requirement on Storm of Spirits,
Yeah.
deal this attack's damage to a different enemy at your location. So then you just kind of choose the other one to be the locus of the storm.
But
and
it wouldn't. The storm wouldn't trigger. It would just be the attack's standard damage. as far as I can.
Okay.
That's how I would do it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think you just get 1 damage, basically.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The standard damage.
I mean, we're talking about this a lot, but we're not including oops.
It's a lot of discussion for a super niche situation that we're not doing.
That's how that works. That's how that works. Okay, so then moving to the survivor skills. Not Without a Fight is the one that is will, fight, or agility, and then gains an extra icon of each of those if you're engaged with an enemy. I don't mind this one, but I don't know how much we need it. Do we include this instead of maybe some of the neutral ones, or do we keep the neutral ones for the extra draw?
I need to look up this card so I can remember what it does.
It is skill. It has will, combat, agility. Commit to a test if you're engaged. For each...
Oh, no, this isn't even released yet.
That's why I was like, it's not in my list. Where is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm like...
We previewed it last
Yeah.
time, and that was almost like it released.
So we're not including it.
No, that's staying out. How about Rise to the Occasion's garbage? Survival Instinct, we don't really want to evade a whole lot, I don't think. Or at least not enough to include a card in our deck specifically for that purpose. How about Resourceful? You think it's enough to put it in there to pull back either Fight or Flights, Luckies, Leather Coats? It doesn't have a power icon,
and that's
the only reason I'm giving pause.
I don't like that, because you have to succeed.
Yeah. I think I would lean no on that.
All right, so let's skip that. All right, so that brings us on into neutrals.
What's our card count?
We are 26, so we might not have to cut a whole lot.
Right.
I suppose we don't know what campaign we're bringing this up against. In
We don't.
Hypothetical land. Okay, so fine clothes. I'm going to say let's put that in the sideboard, and if someone cares to take this into Carcosa, then I would recommend swapping in those fine clothes. Flashlight? No.
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 Knife? Kukri? No.
Painkillers?
How about painkillers and smoking pipe? Like, I'd swap in a single painkillers for one of those leather coats, since they kind of play in the same space, and painkillers has the added advantage that it combos so well with Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Peter on the board, I think we got to do at least 1 painkiller.
Would you argue for 2?
Maybe if leather coat wasn't in there, because I feel like they both serve the same purpose. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll drop leather. Let's do 1 leather coat and 1
Yeah,
painkillers.
that
I think that's a decent way to go. Because even in that situation, like, if you draw both, they're both still useful, as opposed to if we went full in on leather coat, where if you draw both, okay, well now 1 just sits in my hand.
Yeah.
Smoking pipe? I don't feel like she's got enough health to throw around to heal horror that way. We've got the fearless.
Yeah. No, I don't think she's much of a smoker.
All right, calling in favors. So far, we only have we do have the 4 assets. Is that worth considering? So that's the one where you choose. It's a neutral event, cost 1. You choose an ally you control, return it to your hand, search the top 9 of your deck for an ally, and play it, reducing its cost by X, and X is the cost of the ally you just returned to your hand.
I guess it depends on how integral Peter is to our overall strategy at level 0. I would say he's pretty integral, but I don't know. This requires you to have an ally in play.
Yeah, so then the other thing I think about when this is kind of like so conditional like that, because if it happens in the right order, this is a really good card to swap our Initiate in for a 2-cost Peter. Great. But if it happens in the wrong order, this is an intellect and an agility pit.
Which we're not going to be using. So
Yeah.
I think this is more for for an ally heavy deck and not one that just needs a single one.
Yep, agree. Side note, I've been running this in a deck with David Renfield in it, and it's dirty. Because you get him stacked up with like 2 or 3 Doom, and you're pulling in those extra resources each turn until you can't, and then you just pull him back to your hand, and problem solved. And then he, pulls out your Peter or whoever else you're playing at 2 less cost.
Yeah, I've been using it in a latest Roland deck.
Oh, that's a penis joke. I'm with you there.
Oh,
I'm glad it caught up eventually.
I was sitting here, I'm like, did he just like... Never mind, I'm not even going to say it. No, I am, because it's funny.
Pull out your Peter is our episode title. For sure.
Thank you, Casey. I was wondering for a moment if I was the dirtiest one here. So, yeah, I've been using calling in favors with Roland and art students, and that's been fun to just like, give me all the clues.
I think in this deck we can afford to go without it, though. Simply because if it ends up being a non-thing that we want to play, then it doesn't do us a whole lot in our hand.
Right.
So, Quiche?
What's our cost curve?
Our cost curve is pretty okay. We're kind of heavy on the threes. So we've got our Shriveling, we've got Peter, and then our Storm of Spirits. So, our curve is pretty okay. We're really heavy on the 1-cost cards right now. We've got 13 1-cost cards, 2 2-costers, and 8 3-costers.
I'd be okay with 1 quiche. I'm never going to say no to 2, but I'd be okay with 1. I think
pretty
good.
Yeah, I'm okay with 1 because we have Forbidden Knowledge.
Cool. So we'll pop in 1. Neutral skills. Is Unexpected Courage an auto include, or do we think about that?
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Okay. Do we bother with any of the desperate skills? Do you think we're going to consistently get down to 3 sanity?
That would require her to have, assuming Peter's in play, she'd have to have 6+ during her turn. You know what I mean? Because you're going to be healing 1 regularly. Yeah. So I don't think they're worth it.
No.
I think we're going to skip it then.
Yeah.
I tend not to run Guts in Agnes because I think Fearless just kind of takes that spot because she doesn't need to get over 6 very often for a value, at least in Standard. I'm sure there's arguments to be made in other
difficulties.
But
the card draw.
I think Fearless kind of... I mean, the card... Yeah, we are
and
really
it's
low on card
it's
draw.
like guaranteed card draw. I don't know. That's the only... When I was thinking of neutral skills, the only thing I was thinking of was 2 Unexpected Courage, 2 Guts, and that's it.
Yeah, because we don't really need Perception or Overpower. Or
and if we do need
Dexterity.
those, that's what Unexpected Courage is in there for anyway. Right?
Right. Just takes the spot.
Yep.
Okay. So then if we're skipping all the other... we skip all the other skills if we throw in 2 Guts. So that leaves us at 31 cards, guys. So
not too bad.
Okay here. No. So, let me run through the list as it stands. In our hand slot, we have 2 Fire Axes. In our Arcane slot, we have 2 Shrivelings. Body slot has 1 Leather Coat. Ally slot has 2 Initiates, 1 Peter. Blank assets would be 2 Forbidden Knowledge and 1
Wait a minute,
Painkillers.
we only went with 1 Peter Sylvester?
Did I say
Yes.
1? There's definitely 2 in
thank
here.
God.
Yep, sorry. 2 Initiates, 2 Peters. I may have mentioned I'm on drugs right now. It's okay. In the event slots, we have 1 Astral Travel, 1 Blinding Light, 2 Delve Too Deep, 1 Quiche, 2 Fight or Flight, 2 Lucky, 2 Storm of Spirits, 2 Ward of Protection, and then we've got 6 skills, 2 Fearless, 2 Guts, 2 UC. I feel on the chopping block that, at least what I'm considering on the chopping block here, 1 Initiate, maybe 1 Delve Too Deep, and the only reason I even consider that is because this is an all-purple team, and I assume there will be plenty of it floating around.
I also would be fine just dropping the Blinding Light.
I was gonna say,
Light.
look at our one-ofs, and which one do we need the least, and to me, Blinding Light kind of sticks out.
Yeah.
Okay. I would agree there, if we're using just the one-ofs as a barometer. All right, so let's drop the Blinding Light.
I mean, my philosophy is
And
always
ladies
to
and
cut
gentlemen.
one-ofs before you drop your two-ofs, because I'd rather have consistency, personally.
Sure. Ian, any dissension?
No, that's where I was going, is dropping that Blinding Light.
All right, gents, then we have ourselves a deck.
Nice.
Anyone got a clever name? We didn't have any ridiculous banter that came up about a deck name.
Hold on to my Peter. My wife just gave me like the most like, I can't believe you just said that, like, immature, like, what did I marry?
Calling in Peters.
All right, so
we don't even
the
have
deck
that
is
card.
called Holding On To ... My Peter. and that seems pretty good. As far as Agnes murder decks go, I don't think you could do a whole lot better.
I'm really hoping everyone else's deck has this very serious name.
I'm sorry, if they wanted solemnity, they came to the wrong content producers.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Cool. So we will definitely make sure that this is out on ArkhamDB for people to look at and download if they feel like they want to try it. So just check that out. Holding on to my Peter.
This was such a long walk to a Peter joke.
I think that sums up our podcast as a whole.
I mean,
a long walk to a penis
It's a pretty
joke.
fair criticism. If you're going to lay anything at our feet, I'd prefer it be penis jokes. So, Ian, anything else we need to wrap up on this segment?
I don't think so. I think we achieved our goal of creating an investigator that can slot into that all-mystic team.
Perfect. Okay, so then, as we mentioned, definitely go check out the Arkham Chronicle, Drawn to the Flame, and some mystery contributor yet to be determined, or has already been determined, and we just don't know it. And check out what they did with Akachi, Marie, and Jim, respectively. Actually, I don't know about that, respectively. I don't know who got what. That was the wrong word.
I think he meant respectfully.
Yeah, sure, let's go with that.
It'd be interesting
All right.
to see people try out these decks in all mystic team and see how that works. Especially the 8 delves.
Yeah.
For sure, the 8 elves. I mean, we were playing a full 5 or 6 for our Iron Man
6.
Dunwich, and they did things.
We could have went 8, but I didn't want to throw him into Lola.
That's right. So, moving on to, I suppose, the tail end of the episode here. Nick, you finally got your first Masterpiece Theater, and I'm excited.
I did.
Let's have it.
All right, I'm just going to jump into it. First off, Sean, I'm sorry. Ian, I'm sorry. Don't take this personally.
And for anyone who, oh god, that's right. Okay, so first we're gonna do this. Nick's gonna do it without explanation and see if anyone
They're
can
not
nail
going
it.
to.
No,
I wouldn't be able to.
and for anyone who's confused at what we're even talking about here, we have always an open invitation to anyone who gives us a 5-star review out on iTunes, or I suppose it's just iTunes where we can track it, right? Unfortunately, anyone who gives us a 5-star review out there can leave a review and then name a host and an impression they'd like us to do, and that host will read that review in that impression. So, without further ado, do it.
I'm sad that Scott's not here because he got called out in this too, but all right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this gosh darn podcast has me hissing like a snake. I don't like much, but I love these Mythos busters. Even Donnie likes them, and Donnie don't like nothing but freedom and ranch dressing. But all jokes aside, this here is the finest of the fine. Great content, great people. If you're new to the game, or an OG, these fellers have it all. They never make you feel like an outsider. If all card game communities were like the one they have helped create, we'd all be in a better place. And this, yeah. Any guesses? If anybody can nail this, I will be... But like I said, no one is going to guess this.
I think you got the first half pretty well. I think the second half of the impression was it's a tough thing.
The problem
to do.
is
I think that's generally how it goes.
the problem is that it's an impression of an impression. Like I can't just do one person.
and that's ridiculous. That's ridiculously
I
hard
have to do
do
one person pretending to be another person. Oh my god. So this was I had to do Sean pretending to be Ian, and Scott was supposed to be laughing in the background, but he just wasn't here, sadly. This makes me think of a quick anecdote. I do community theater on occasion, and we did an improv class for one of our productions, and it was supposed to be one person comes out and says, "Oh, such and such celebrity, it's nice to see you," and then the other person has to act like that celebrity. The first time I step out on stage, and my scene partner goes, "Oh, it's fat Irish Christopher Walken," and I was like, what? Like, how do I make all of that work?
Jesus.
So I didn't have anything.
That's a lot to take in a single second.
Especially for my first improv thing. Anyway, so yeah.
All right, and I think, are we doing this next one? Was it pinned on a specific
It was
person?
not.
So I still vote Ian, but I suppose we'll give you an episode to prepare.
Sure, that's fair.
Okay, so then I think that moves us on into a little bit of Tentacle time. Ian, what's been grabbing you?
Oh, all right. A couple things. So one is, I think, our first Tentacle Time music recommendation. I'm definitely a big music fan, as some people might know if they've been listening to this for a while. So this band, the Lillingtons, which is a punk band, they recently came out with an album which was kind of a little bit of a change to their sound. They've always had kind of like a weird sci-fi element to it. I don't know how to describe it. But their most recent album actually has, I don't know, for some reason it has like a very like Lovecraft / like B-movie sci-fi feel to it, and has a song that's actually the Cult of Dagon or Dagon, so a direct Lovecraft reference. So check out the newest album by the Lillingtons. That's something that I've been listening to. The other thing, couple other things. One is if you have been curious about the show, as I have been, Ash vs. Evil Dead, it was on the Starz channel for a long time, so I couldn't watch it, but now it recently got on Netflix. So I just started watching Ash vs. Evil Dead. I was always a big fan of Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, so I'm happy to finally get to watch that show, which is why I was making a reference to Deadites in the chat earlier. is on my brain.
I've been eyeing up Ash versus the Evil Dead since it hit Netflix now, but God, it's been so long since I've seen any of the Evil Dead movies that it's like I really want to watch those again before I do that. How much context is needed going into it?
Very little. I was kind of thinking the same thing. It's been a while since I watched it, but it kind of just...
The movies stand on their own really
They do.
well,
Each one does. Yeah. In this series, it's kind of obviously a big time jump to account for Bruce Campbell being older. But yeah, it's not like really building on like, oh, I need to know all these details, and he gives like in the first episode a little info dump to another character to catch up the audience who have never seen it. So and I'm just impressed by, like, obviously it's a TV show, so it's a different thing, but it immediately kind of captured that feel that I remembered from those movies. So that
the bits I've seen look really good.
Yeah, so I'm only on 2 episodes in, but I'm definitely going to keep going with it. It's a lot of fun. And then the last one is I'm repping yet another Geek and Sundry show, but this one is called The Sagas of Sundry. This is actually another RPG show that they've run on the Geek and Sundry channel. This is actually focused around using the dread system, if people are familiar with that. I know you are, Nick. But so for those who aren't familiar, dread is an RPG system where you basically use a Jenga tower as the main system. And so when you're trying to attempt something, then the storyteller, DM, I forgot whatever they're called in this particular system, will have you make a pull from the tower, and if you fail, then bad things will happen. So they did one season, which was kind of like a people out camping, which was a cool theme. But the second season they called Madness, and this is actually a direct Lovecraftian nod story, which is why I'm bringing it up with like the players in like a old 30s apartment building. So it's a cool Lovecraft story. It's not just dread because it's Geek and Sundry. They obviously have money to throw around, so they have like all these crazy sets built, and they do like some different like challenges along the way. So it's almost like an interesting like dread / like actual TV show, because these are actors doing it / like reality show almost. So I don't know, I highly recommend it. It's worth a watch. The only thing is it is on their alpha channel, which you have to pay for, but I believe they have a 30-day trial, and it just finished, so you could sign up and watch it for free and binge and then cancel it if you want.
Nice. Nick, how about you?
Let me consult my notes again. Oh yeah, Hearthstone. So the newest expansion for Hearthstone just released a week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. Kobolds and Catacombs. I know we've talked about it previously on the podcast, but it's all kind of like dungeon delving themed. So classic D&D tropes are in there. Recruit.
As far as Hearthstone goes, this is a monumental episode because I believe as of this episode, all 4 hosts are or have recently played Hearthstone.
Yeah. So
related to another announcement that we'll get to.
I was going to say, I suppose I should ask, Sean, you're returning to it. Ian, you're just starting to play it as far as I know.
Yep.
How do you guys feel about how the game, or your experience with it in recent times?
I really didn't know too much about it. It was just always something that I saw as kind of this this casual online game that other people played, fairly or unfairly. But when the Lord of the Rings digital game was announced, I was like, because it had some similarities to Hearthstone, obviously it's a different thing. I'm like, let me try it. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. There's a lot going on in it.
Yeah, it is more layered than a lot of people like to. A lot of people who haven't played it or have maybe only played a handful of games like to claim that it's, like simple and it's like for kids and blah, blah, blah. But there's actually a lot more going on with it than you would at first expect. Sean, how is your return to Hearthstone treating you?
It's been pretty good. I think for the most part, the only reason I quit it before was because I don't like the collectible model, and it was just not something at that time that I wanted to pour money into. But I've always liked the game. I think as far as I don't want to call it a Magic clone, but it is very similar to that Magic archetype. But as far as Magic clones go, that probably is at the top of the heap for me as far as how it plays and how it handles its resources and blah, blah, blah. I really like the solo dungeon runs because I do love me some solo, some or it's not co-op, but I do love me some AI, some PvE. So I'm glad that they added that in. And then I don't think they had started the whole format limiting with standard versus wild when I was playing before it. I do like that distinction because it makes your playable card pool a lot more surmountable.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Yeah, the dungeon runs have been what I've been doing the most of in the last couple since the newest expansion released. I'm not terribly
really
they
fun.
are. They're that's the thing is that it's like I wish you got something more from them than just the card back for doing all 9 classes, because I did it really heavy when the expansion first hit, and I got 2 classes pretty quickly, and then I just hit a wall, and I was just kind of like, well, why do I keep doing it? Maybe I should actually go back on the ladder and explore the new meta after the expansion came out. And just recently I went back and started doing more dungeon runs because I was like, yeah, let's try and get that card back. But I really, even if it was just you completed a run, here's 50 gold. Even if it was that, that's pretty meager. That would be it would feel so much better. You know what I mean? But other than that, I really enjoyed this expansion. I don't think it's going to oust Ungoro as my favorite expansion overall, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So yeah, Hearthstone has been a lot of fun. I just started reading a new to me, not new by any means, but new to me book, Children of Hurin.
Nice.
Hurin? Hurin. Okay. Hurin. Anyway, I started reading that little Lord of the Rings side story, or Middle-earth side story, I guess I should say. Pretty good so far. I mean, it's Tolkien writing, so it's fluid and it's poetic, but it's also at some points I'm like, okay, this is kind of like the Old Testament. Let's speed it along here. But I'm liking what I'm about halfway through it. I like it so far. It's actually really cool. So I'm excited to finish that hopefully soon. I'm assuming both of you have read it.
No, I've only ever read the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I know Ian's read it. Oh yeah. How would you say this one rate? In all of the non Lord of the Rings books, all of the Middle Earth books, where would Children of Hurin be for you?
I covered all the pieces with that pronunciation.
Definitely of kind of the non-LOTR, that it would definitely be my favorite. I like the whole kind of Greek tragedy thing it has going for it. So those elements. And as far as kind of the custom scenarios for Lord of the Rings I'm working on, kind of the current cycle that I'm doing is a whole cycle based on that book specifically. So, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Is there a quest where you have to berate an elf and make him strip naked and run through the woods at the point of your sword?
No, but I do have a specific piece of card art on a card based on that scene.
That's awesome. That was the point where I'm like, okay, this is really, I can get into this. Naked elves running through the woods. That's where I'm.
I love that. That's the point where you buy in, Nick.
Oh no.
Because this is like we've talked about this on Cardboard of the Ring several times before too. This is the line of stories that includes Turin Turambar, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he's like, at least for what I've read, he's kind of like the focus for everything. Like, there's a lot of setup, obviously, in talking about Hurin, but Turin is the focus for the meat of the story so far that I've gotten to. I'm just starting a chapter called Mim the Dwarf, so I guess we'll see how much that changes as far as subject matter, or focus, anyway. And then the last thing I want to talk about real quick, my solo podcast, The Novelcast, is still going strong. I'm actually about 3/4 of the way through season 2. Release about 2 to 3 episodes a week. So if you like the sound of my voice and you want to experience audiobooks written and narrated by myself, check out The Novelcast.
And which book are you reading
This season I am doing the first book that I wrote with the intent to self-publish, which is Cybersaurus, my first foray into serialized science fiction, and my last foray into serialized science fiction, because it turns out.
Hey, you got to sell the premise, though. You got to sell the premise.
Oh yeah, the story is about a woman whose husband's brain is trapped in the body of a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the year 2119. So I tried to stay pretty grounded for this one, pretty close to reality, obviously. No.
It's a modest read.
It's fun. I really enjoy the story. I want to go back and start writing the sequel at some point, and I'm kind of hoping that this will kind of kick that into gear for me. But yeah, we're about 3/4 of the way through it. And of course, you can download all of season 1, which is a much shorter book that I never actually released. So that's an unreleased science fiction suspense story called The Visitors. And I'm actually pretty proud of that piece as well.
Right on. So then I suppose for my part, I had just a couple things to touch on here. First, based on your two guys' recommendation, my wife and I did finally get around to watching True Detective season 1, and it was amazing.
Some of the best television out there.
Yeah.
I've never been negative on McConaughey, but I've never found him to be amazing. But he knocks it out of the goddamn
so
park
good
in that show.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculously good, and Woody's and does them well as he does. But that whole show, start to finish, was captivating, and it wasn't that big of an ask. It was
10 episodes,
hour or less episodes.
I think it was 10. Yeah, that's one I definitely want.
I think season 2 was 10, but I'm pretty sure season 1 was 8.
Are you planning to go into season 2?
I don't know yet because I've heard so many mixed things.
I haven't heard any mixed. I've heard all negative.
Oh, all negative.
And that's the thing is that I taught people whose opinion I value greatly, and who have seen season 1 and agree with me that season 1 of True Detective is this pinnacle of television, and they're like, yeah, don't watch season 2. And I'm like, don't even try it. They're like, don't even try it. I'm like, oh my god. So
that's too bad. Well, I mean, anyway, it's really good. I would now third the recommendation for anyone to go out and watch it if you haven't already. So beyond that, I've been playing a fair amount of Lord of the Rings lately. In addition, I think I've kind of reached parity right now with as much time as I spend between the two games. Like Lord of the Rings and Arkham are taking up right around the same amount of time. For the longest time, Arkham was so far ahead of Lord of the Rings. But anyway, Ian and I have actually started a new little venture for the physical Lord of the Rings card game, where I've hopped on. I glommed onto his little wagon that he was doing with Tea Time, which was it's consistently on Fridays.
Yeah, it's
Fridays
been
at,
consistently
noon?
Fridays. Yeah.
Where you've been playing through with kind of specific decks, which has been fun. So we've actually started kind of a YouTube centric podcast, I suppose would be the best way to to describe it, but it's really short form compared to Cardboard of the Rings. But we talk for an hour. We just chat about Lord of the Rings, the card game. We kind of start with the topic and see where it takes us. It's been fun so far. We've got 2 episodes out there, so look for Tales from the Cards on YouTube, and you can access that if you're at all interested.
I like how you prop that, Sean, because I totally forgot to in my segment.
I got you, buddy.
Yeah. The Tea Time Tales is me playing through a quest that's kind of like a deck laboratory. So if you want to watch that live Fridays at 12 Pacific on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/TalesFTcards. And then, yeah, like Sean said, you can find both that and our little Tea Time chats on YouTube.
So that's been fun, and I expect we'll be continuing that into the future, because it's it's not remarkably low maintenance. It was completely engineered to be low maintenance, because this is podcast number 3 for us, so we can only take so much crazy. But anyway, beyond that, I think one other thing, Lord of the Rings related, the Fellowship event it happened. Mm-hmm. Dol Guldur is a thing that exists. No, I'm not so much a fan as anyone who's paid attention to my Lord of the Rings opinions will have already heard, but it was cool that we got the Fellowship event. I really like the fact that we got Galadriel to go along with the Celeborn alt art that we got at Gen Con, because those two look gorgeous on the board together. And I actually got Brian to play a game, who had sworn off the game. He's pretty good about trying again every Fellowship event. The problem is, like, the past 2 years, the Fellowship events have been all losers. So they're not a great point to try the game again. Right. But anyway, what came out of that Fellowship event outside of the cool quests and alternate art cards was that there was a really big announcement coming out of FFG, which technically the announcement came out of Fantasy Flight Interactive, so FFI, where they're actually... They're adapting Lord of the Rings LCG to a tabletop version. And, this doesn't specifically affect Arkham, but it definitely is something that if this does really well, like, they might open the doors for more development like this. So we could conceivably, in the future, get an adaptation of Arkham in kind of digital form, as digital adaptations are. And that's pretty exciting. I mean, the Lord of the Rings one is exciting by itself, don't get me wrong. Because it's so cool, because everything that we've been talking about where the card pool might be getting a little stale or the quest's too hard, whatever complaints you have about the current game, we now get Lord of the Rings 2.0, but it doesn't take away Lord of the Rings 1.0. And that is very cool. And I thought a very good move on FFG's part.
Yeah, as someone who has always been, like, tangentially interested in Lord of the Rings LCG, like,
i.e. you play it when Sean forces it to
No,
the
there's been plenty of times where I'm like, let's play a Lord of the Rings game, but then you're always like, well, which scenario? And I'm like, I don't know, just pick one. Like I enjoy the game for the most part, but my biggest reason for never actually collecting it, other than Sean having it, was the fact that, like, just by the time I was seriously considering getting into it was when the card pool was huge, and I just didn't have an interest in investing, because if I knew if I wanted to get into it, I want to have all the tools available to me as a deck builder, and that was just, it seemed insurmountable. So this is actually something I'm excited about. It's rekindling the Lord of the Rings fan in me, so that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the cool things about it, I thought, was that Ian, you had mentioned that, and I think rightfully so, that everyone kind of drew some parallels to Hearthstone, because there are definitely some similarities in both the visuals and various other things. But the main thing that's different is that it is not going to be a random buy scenario or random pack buying situation. It is truly an LCG where when they come out with new cards, you pay whatever those new cards cost, and then you just get them.
Have they announced the specifics of their release model, or can we basically just expect a digital version of the regular LCG model?
No, they haven't, and I would actually expect that it will be quite a bit different. Because
I would hope so.
At least as far as what we've seen previewed in their Twitch streams with scenarios and how they work, I don't see them getting bundled with packs of player cards like they do in the physical game.
Nice.
I see them kind of being released in kind of swaths, and then maybe some new player cards to go along with them. I mean, kind of similar to Hearthstone, I would assume.
Well,
in that way, where they just all come out at once.
Right. Well, Hearthstone's different.
But we don't have any specifics.
Because Hearthstone the PvE is such an afterthought in Hearthstone. Like it really it doesn't even exist for some expansions. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where it's interesting, because you're buying, like with this, you'd be potentially buying not only player cards but also the scenarios to run against. So it'd be interesting I'm really interested to see how their release model is going to shake out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they will bundle scenarios and locations on the encounter side with player cards. It's possible, but I don't know. They haven't confirmed anything on this point, aside from the fact that it's not going to be random buys. But, I mean, God, what is the advantage? Like, do you bundle them together so people are kind of shoehorned into buying things they might not buy otherwise? Or do you really split it all up so people can really just get what they want, and then maybe increase the price a little bit because it's all a la carte?
I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, neither do I. So anyway, that's exciting. So we'll keep that on the horizon, because I'm sure there's going to be lots of buzz about that. Because you know what, it's a digital LCG, it's co-op. I kind of feel like there's a lot of crossover between. Well, I don't feel like there is a lot of crossover between LOTR and Arkham. So hopefully that'll be something that our listeners get excited about as well. So, then I think that wraps us up for this episode. I'm amazed that I stayed at least in the realm of coherence this whole time.
Well, we'll hear the audio
Thank you guys for propping me up.
Let's not be hasty.
Yeah, this is fair. The craziest person in the world thinks they're sane in the moment, right? So guys, any...
Oh, no, never mind.
Go.
Damn it. No, I totally forgot. I was going to bring up a certain film... and then realize that we're missing a certain host.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, so The Last Jedi is a topic that we're very excited to bring into an extended Tentacle Time, but we do want to have the full crew when we do it. So if that's something you're interested in hearing us discuss, because we have, at least it's the little bit that we've discussed in our little sidebar, we have kind of a range of opinions. So... No, I mean our mod sidebar specifically. We have an entire channel in the Discord that's devoted to that, and there have been many, many things said in there. But, so pay attention for that in upcoming Tentacle Time. Maybe we'll do that when we have our special episode, and we can get, like, a full thing going on with special guest stars.
Yeah, I would be down for that, totally. Depending on who they are. No Brian.
I'm still very scared to have you and Brian in the same podcast. That's not a line I've crossed yet. So guys, any other parting shots as we head out here?
Nope.
No.
That's a no. So thanks everyone. Like we mentioned, go ahead and check out the meme contest that's going to be out on our Facebook. We'll be deciding the winners both by our arbitrary decision and by popular vote on the first of the new year, or at least shortly thereafter. Check out that Family Feud survey, which again will be posted on our Facebook, should be pinned on our page, will be on our WordPress site, and then we'll put it in the announcement section of our Discord. So hopefully anyone who wants access to it will be able to access it in one of those three venues. Go out and take it. Should take 2-3 minutes, and it's going to lead to what I hope is going to be a really fun game for our next episode. So really appreciate anyone who takes that time to go do that. And I think that is going to wrap us up for episode 30 of Mythos Busters. We're going to have to see you guys next time.
Bye.